Have you ever stopped to think that avocado, a fruit known worldwide for its countless benefits, can pose serious risks to your health? Although it is considered a powerful food, recommended by doctors and nutritionists to strengthen the heart, balance cholesterol, and provide daily energy, there is a dangerous side that almost no one talks about. If consumed incorrectly, avocados can cause poisoning, promote dangerous infections, and even aggravate serious conditions such as diabetes and liver disease. Many people make simple but fatal mistakes when consuming this fruit, putting those over 50 at particular risk. In this video, I will reveal the 5 fatal mistakes that you need to know about to avoid serious consequences to your health. Pay attention, because the last mistake is the most common, and you may have already made it without realizing it. But first, quickly check if you are already subscribed to the channel. That way, you can be sure that you will receive the right tips to take better care of your health every day. Now, let's get straight to the first dangerous mistake: consuming toxic parts of the avocado. Mistake number 1, consuming toxic parts, pines and peels. Many people believe that using every part of a food is a smart and natural way to take care of your health. But in the case of avocados, this idea can be a big mistake. The avocado pit and skin contain a substance called persin, which in small quantities may seem harmless, but in excess, it becomes toxic, especially for those with weaker immune systems. As is the case with many elderly people, persin is found in higher concentrations in the inedible parts of the fruit, such as the pit and the skin. It is a natural toxin that can cause serious problems in some species of animals, such as dogs and birds. In humans, its effects are less well studied, but reports indicate that prolonged consumption or consumption in high doses can cause gastrointestinal disorders, such as nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and in more severe cases, liver inflammation and adverse reactions in the cardiovascular system. Despite these risks, there is a growing trend of turning avocado seeds into powder to make teas or even add them to smoothies and cakes. This practice has gained traction with misleading promises of rapid weight loss or natural detoxification, but what many people don't know is that there is no reliable scientific evidence regarding the supposed benefits of consuming avocado seeds. On the contrary, experts warn that ingesting them can actually pose a real risk. The same goes for the peel. Some people, in an attempt to make the most of it, use the peel in infusions or even grind it in homemade juice and syrup recipes. The peel, in addition to containing the same toxic substance, also carries residues of pesticides and impurities from handling and transportation, even after washing. Its internal use, in addition to not bringing proven benefits, can lead to contamination by pesticides or even invisible fungi. It is worth remembering that the toxic parts of the avocado do have useful applications, but outside of food. The pit, for example, is used in the cosmetics industry to produce oils and natural exfoliants. However, these products are processed in a specific way and are never ingested. Cosmetic use should not be confused with food consumption. Another important point is that the negative effects do not only arise from the isolated consumption of these parts, but can accumulate over time, especially in people who follow these practices as a habit. For someone with liver or stomach diseases or a compromised immune system, this can become an aggravating factor. For the elderly, the risk is even greater. The body's natural aging process reduces its ability to metabolize potentially toxic substances, and even a dose considered low for a young adult can cause more severe damage to an older person. Furthermore, since many elderly people already take continuous medications, mixing these substances with their medications can lead to unwanted interactions. But why do these practices continue to be carried out? Much of this confusion comes from the internet. Videos and blogs promote the use of pits and skins with exaggerated promises, without any reliable basis. The idea that everything that comes from nature is good can be dangerous when we ignore the fact that nature also produces poisons. Apple seeds, for example, contain cyanide in small doses. And with avocados, the principle is similar. Specific parts of the fruit were not intended for human consumption. Therefore, the recommendation is simple and straightforward. Consume only the pulp of the avocado, which is where all the beneficial nutrients are concentrated, such as good fats, potassium, fiber, and antioxidants. Avoid using the pit or peel, even if the recipe seems natural or alternative. Health should not be put at risk by fads or unsupported Information. Now that you know why you should avoid eating the pit and skin, it's time to move on to the next mistake. You could be making a dangerous mistake every day, but not even realize it. Let's talk about the second fatal mistake, storing avocados incorrectly, which creates an ideal environment for the proliferation of fungi and bacteria. Mistake number 2, incorrect storage and unseen risks. Now that you know that avocado pits and skins should be avoided, it's time to talk about a more subtle but equally dangerous mistake, storing the fruit incorrectly. This is one of those habits that seems harmless, but silently creates an ideal environment for the proliferation of fungi, bacteria, and even toxins that are invisible to the human eye. Imagine this: you cut an avocado, use half of it, and store the rest in the refrigerator in any old way, uncovered, unprotected, sometimes even leaving it in the fruit bowl, thinking it will keep for another day or two. This common practice is a breeding ground for contamination. When the avocado comes into contact with air, it begins to oxidize, losing nutrients and creating ideal conditions for the action of microorganisms. The problem is that we can't always see or feel the danger. An avocado that looks fine can be loaded with bacteria, especially if it has been left out of the fridge for many hours or stored incorrectly. The oxidized pulp can hide invisible colonies that, when consumed, generate symptoms such as nausea, diarrhea, gas, bloating, and in more serious cases, intestinal infections and stomach inflammation. And here's an important fact: people over 60 have a higher risk of suffering complications from foodborne illnesses. The immune system is no longer as efficient, and any overload can become a problem. Therefore, what is just a discomfort for someone young can develop into a more serious condition in an elderly person. But what exactly do people do wrong when storing avocados? One of the most common mistakes is leaving the cut half exposed to the air without covering it. Another common problem is not refrigerating the avocado after opening it, thinking that since it is natural, it will not spoil easily. There are also those who store it in open or poorly sealed jars, or use only loose plastic wrap, which allows air to enter. In either of these situations, the pulp begins to oxidize, darken, and deteriorate, even if it still looks edible. The solution is simple, but requires attention. If you have half of the avocado left over, leave the pit in the uneaten part. It helps to slow down oxidation. Sprinkle the pulp with a few drops of lemon, which helps preserve it and prevents it from browning. Wrap with cling film, pressing firmly against the pulp to prevent air from entering. Store immediately in the refrigerator and consume within 48 hours. Another valuable tip: if you cut an avocado and are not going to eat it right away, avoid leaving it on the table or in an open bag. Even at room temperature, the fruit attracts microorganisms present in the environment and can start to ferment, especially on hot days. If you are storing a whole, ripe avocado, keep it in a cool, airy place away from direct sunlight. Once it feels soft to the touch, refrigerate it. A ripe avocado can be kept in the refrigerator for up to 2 to 3 days before it begins to lose its nutritional value. And pay attention to the warning signs. Avocados with dark spots, a sour smell, or a slimy texture should be discarded. If you notice any mold spots, even small ones, don't just remove the rotten part. Throw away the entire fruit. Avoiding this mistake is one of the simplest ways to protect your health, especially if you already have the habit of including avocados in your daily diet. Small changes in the way you store this fruit can make a huge difference in your food safety. By the way, if this tip helped you in any way, take the opportunity to like the video. This helps the channel to continue bringing useful and direct content to you, especially if you're looking for safe ways to take care of your health with natural food. And now, let's move on to an even more common mistake, and one that is often encouraged by those who believe they are doing everything right. The next fatal mistake is the excessive consumption of avocados, thinking that the more, the better. But does this logic really work with any food? Mistake number 3, overconsumption with a focus on benefits. It's common to think that anything that's good for you can be eaten as much as you want, and avocado, with its reputation as a superfood, ends up being part of that automatic mindset. After all, it's rich in good fats, full of fiber, vitamins, minerals. It seems like the perfect food, doesn't it? But here's the truth that few people talk about. Excessive consumption of avocado can cause the opposite effects to those desired, especially in people who already have some metabolic condition, such as Insulin resistance, fatty liver, or a tendency towards obesity. Avocado is a nutrient-dense food, but it is also very high in calories. On average, 100 grams of pulp has about 160 calories, almost all of which come from fat. Although this fat is called monounsaturated, which is good for the heart, the body still recognizes it as a source of energy. And if it is not used, it turns into reserves, that is, body fat. Now imagine someone who eats a whole avocado a day, believing that they are doing a huge favor to their health. Without realizing it, this person is ingesting between 300 and 400 extra calories per day, often without adjusting the rest of their diet. This, over the course of weeks or months, can cause weight gain, accumulation of visceral fat, and liver overload, especially in slower organisms, such as many elderly people. And this is not a hypothetical case. Several reports of people who increased their avocado consumption with the aim of improving their cholesterol, controlling glucose, or losing weight naturally ended up seeing the opposite result. Weight gain, increased triglyceride levels, and even worsening of fatty liver. This happens because food, even if healthy, needs to be consumed in a balanced and conscious manner. Another important point is the misconception that avocado fats cleanse the body. This is not true. The human body does not function with a single food cleaning. Avocado fat helps improve the lipid profile within a healthy and balanced diet. In other words, if you eat avocado but continue to eat ultra-processed foods, excess sugar, and do not exercise, the positive effects of the fruit practically disappear, and there's also the risk of competition from other foods. Those who overindulge on avocados may end up neglecting other sources of healthy fat, such as olive oil, nuts, or fish rich in omega-3. This creates a nutritional imbalance, reducing the diversity of nutrients, which is especially bad for older people who already have reduced absorption of vitamins and minerals as they age. Another impact of excess fat, even good fat, is on digestion and the liver. Fat, when consumed in large quantities, places greater demands on the digestive system, especially the gallbladder and liver. In people with a tendency to gallstones, fatty liver, or mild liver dysfunction, excess fat can worsen the condition and cause digestive discomfort, such as a feeling of bloating, sluggishness after meals, reflux, and nausea. Therefore, the ideal recommendation for those who want to safely enjoy the benefits of avocado is simple: moderation. For healthy adults, half a medium avocado per day is more than enough. For the elderly, this amount can be even smaller. For example, 2 to 3 tablespoons of pulp per day, varying according to the rest of the diet. And more important than the amount alone is the overall context of the diet. A small piece of avocado inserted into a diet rich in vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and other functional foods will have a much more powerful effect than eating large portions of the fruit in an unbalanced diet. It is also worth remembering that for those who want to lose weight, it is not enough to cut calories or focus on a single food. Healthy and lasting weight loss depends on a set of factors: a balanced diet, quality sleep, adequate hydration, daily exercise, and stress management. No food alone has the power to magically transform the body or health, not even avocado. Therefore, the mistake here is not consuming avocado. It is believing that because it is healthy, it can be eaten without limits, as if it were outside the rules of basic nutrition. Everything in excess has a price, and with avocado, this price can come in the form of weight gain, metabolic imbalance, and physical discomfort. Now that you understand the risk of overdoing it, let's look at an even more common and even cultural and habit in many families: mixing avocado with sugar, condensed milk, or other ingredients that transform the fruit into a dangerous dessert. Mistake number 4: mixing with sugar and turning into dessert. You've probably seen, or even made, that traditional recipe for mashed avocado with sugar and milk. Maybe with condensed milk, or even turned into a smoothie. It's a common practice in many homes, passed down from generation to generation, and done with the best of intentions to make the fruit tastier. But what seems like a simple flavor variation can be a serious mistake for your health, especially if you're part of the group that needs the most care, the elderly. Avocado on its own is a powerful source of good fats, B vitamins, magnesium, potassium, and fiber. But when this nutritious base is combined with high doses of sugar, it loses almost all of its functional value and becomes an inflammatory and dangerous food for those with diabetes, prediabetes, insulin resistance, or high cholesterol. By adding sugar or condensed milk to Avocado, you create a highly caloric dish that causes spikes in blood glucose levels, which is extremely harmful, especially for older people, and worse, because it is a dessert considered healthier than industrial sweets. It is usually consumed with less guilt in larger portions and more frequently. This only increases the risk. What many people don't know is that this combination directly interferes with the beneficial effects of avocado fat. Monounsaturated fat helps to keep cholesterol levels balanced, but sugar does the opposite. It promotes the accumulation of fat in the liver, stimulates inflammation, and interferes with glycemic control. The combination of the two creates a contradictory and even dangerous effect for those seeking a healthier lifestyle. Plus, mixing whole milk or condensed milk with avocado adds more saturated fat to the equation. The combination of good fats with bad fats and refined sugar creates a food that seems nutritious but behaves like an ultra-processed candy inside the body, with all the negative effects that this brings. Increased cholesterol, greater insulin resistance, silent inflammation, and of course, weight gain. And make no mistake, sweetening with honey or brown sugar won't solve the problem either. Although they are more natural options, they are still simple sugars, with a high glycemic impact and practically the same negative metabolic effects as white sugar. The solution lies in changing the way we eat it, not in completely banning it. There are much smarter and tastier ways to include avocado in your diet, taking advantage of all the good things it has to offer. A good example is using avocado in savory recipes, such as light guacamole, creams with herbs, or even on whole wheat toast with olive oil and lemon. These versions preserve the natural structure of the fruit, keep the glycemic index low, and combine with a functional, anti-inflammatory, and balanced diet. For those who have diabetes or are trying to lose weight, these options make much more sense than continuing with the sweetened version. Another simple tip is to eat avocado pure in small portions, first thing in the morning or early afternoon. Its fat promotes satiety, helps control appetite, and provides energy gradually without the glucose spikes caused by sugar. But perhaps the biggest obstacle here is emotional. Many people have fond memories linked to avocado with sugar, childhood memories, family meals, recipes lovingly prepared by parents or grandparents. Therefore, changing this habit may seem like breaking tradition, but prioritizing health does not mean erasing memories. It means adapting intelligently so that you can continue living and creating new memories with more vitality. And now I want to know from you, how do you usually consume avocado? Plain, salty, sweet? Have you ever made the mistake of over-sweetening it, thinking it was harmless? Comment below and tell me. Knowing how you relate to this food helps a lot when producing future content. Following this line of reasoning, the next mistake is more recent, but it has been spreading very quickly, especially on the internet. This is when avocados stop being just a food and start being treated as a natural miracle, capable of curing diseases, helping you lose weight in days, and detoxifying your body. In the next chapter, we will talk about the dangers of miraculous promises. Mistake number 5, believing in internet miracle promises. With the growth of social media and the ease of access to information, avocados have gained the status of a natural remedy in many corners of the internet. It is not uncommon to find videos and posts promising that the fruit is capable of curing serious diseases, drying out liver fat in a few days, eliminating bad cholesterol instantly, or even treating cancer naturally. These claims, although attractive, are extremely dangerous and represent one of the most serious mistakes in the use of avocados. The problem is not with the avocado itself, but with the way it is presented. As a miracle, quick and definitive solution, this idea creates a false sense of security in people who start to consume the fruit with unrealistic expectations, abandoning basic healthcare, failing to follow a balanced diet, or even replacing medical treatments with homemade recipes. It is important to remember that avocado is, in fact, a functional food. It can help control blood sugar levels, contribute to cholesterol balance, promote satiety, and reduce mild inflammation. But none of this happens on its own, nor does it happen immediately. The positive effects appear within a context, a balanced diet, a healthy routine, and in many cases, professional monitoring. Believing in content that promises cures with isolated foods can delay diagnoses, mask serious symptoms, and lead to risky decisions. Imagine someone with moderate fatty liver who watches a video saying that eating avocado seeds will solve everything in 3 days. This person may stop seeing a doctor, stop following the prescribed diet, and end up worsening their clinical condition. Another risk is creating habits based on alternative recipes without scientific basis, such as infusions with the peel, homemade fermentations with avocado and lemon, or prolonged fasting while consuming only the fruit. These practices not only do not work, but can also intoxicate or overload the body, especially in the elderly who have less tolerance to dietary imbalances. It's easy to see why these promises are so popular. They offer simple answers to complex problems, something everyone would like to have. But in the world of health, there is no magic. The safest and most effective path continues to be that of reliable information, caution, and common sense. Avocado can be an ally, but it should never be treated as a medicine. This is one of the most common mistakes and, unfortunately, one of the most dangerous. Now that you know the 5 fatal mistakes when eating avocado, it's time to review what you've learned and consolidate the practical guidelines to ensure that you always use this valuable fruit in a conscious and safe manner. It's time to review everything we've learned so far. Avocado is, without a doubt, one of nature's most complete and beneficial foods. But as we've seen throughout this video, the misuse of this fruit can cause serious harm to your health, especially for older people who need to pay extra attention to what they eat. Let's recap the 5 fatal mistakes. Mistake 1: consuming toxic parts, such as the pit and the peel. These parts contain substances such as persin, which can cause poisoning and overload the body, especially in people with greater sensitivity. Mistake 2: storing avocados incorrectly. Leaving the fruit exposed to air, poorly sealed, or outside the refrigerator encourages contamination by invisible microorganisms, damaging the digestive and immune systems. Mistake 3: overdoing it daily. Even though it is healthy, avocado is high in calories and fat. Excess can lead to weight gain, increased cholesterol, and liver overload. Mistake 4: mixing it with sugar and turning it into a dessert. When you add condensed milk, sugar, or other high-calorie ingredients, avocado loses its benefits and becomes an inflammatory and dangerous food for diabetics. Mistake 5: believing in miraculous promises on the internet. Unscientific prescriptions and exaggerated promises can delay diagnoses and lead to dangerous practices such as abandoning medical treatments. Now that you know each of these mistakes, you are prepared to make safer and more conscious choices. Avocado continues to be an excellent ally for your health, as long as it is used wisely. And if this content helped you in any way to rethink your habits, leave your like here on the video. This way you show that you value serious content about health and well-being, and also help this video reach more people who need this information. In the next and final chapter, we will conclude with an important message to reinforce the power of information and the impact of small changes in everyday life. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You've taken an important step toward a more conscious and safe diet. Simple yet powerful information like this has the potential to transform lives, especially when applied regularly and responsibly. Avocado is still an extremely beneficial fruit, but now you know that it needs to be treated with the respect it deserves, without exaggeration, without dangerous combinations, and without believing in miracles. Every small adjustment you make to your eating routine is an investment in your health, your well-being, and your longevity. The right information at the right time can prevent diseases, avoid complications, and ensure that you live with more quality, energy, and security. And if you value this type of content, take advantage now and subscribe to the channel here. This way, you can be sure that you will always receive useful, direct, and reliable guidance on how to take care of your health in a natural and intelligent way, without confusion, fads, or exaggerations. See you in the next video. Until then, take good care of yourself